as of yesterday, we got in super late, obviously, on Sunday morning, and then got started on Auburn Sunday, and got a really good football team. Got a lot of respect for Hugh. Gone against him for a lot of years. Obviously, record may not indicate, but the record doesn't speak for what this team is. But they got a really good football team, and today we start on them. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, Coach, I'm sure as a football coach, when you go back and watch the film, there are moments where, whether it be a drop or a missed tackle, you feel like there might be the right play called, but execution might be lacking. Does your responsibility as a coach stop right there at execution, or is there a way as a coach that we can impact our execution rate, we can increase it?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
How do you go about executing better as a coach? When you feel like you've called the right play, just lacking execution, how do we increase the execution?
Yeah, you try to show them on tape and explain where we went wrong. You check your quality control of how much did we rep that, how much did we rep that versus that look. Did we do it enough that we can actually say they should have gotten it right? Because if you do everything once and you only get one look at it, which that's not what anybody does, that's not enough. But if you do everything 10, 20 times, you can't do as much. And so then you run out of, you get lower execution, but you get higher volume. And it's a constant balance between what you're doing and how well you execute. And plus, on defense, it's hard because you don't know what you're getting. You don't dictate the play. They dictate the play in the formation. You respond to it. So it's offense, defense, both. And there's great examples of really good execution, and there's great examples of poor execution.
Probably the most amazing thing Saturday was the fourth down execution in a desperation situation. I just wonder, with regard to the slow starts and stuff like that, with this team, does it just need to play more desperate early as opposed to what they're doing right now?
I don't know. I don't have a great answer for that, Joe. I mean, I can't sit here and say they need to play desperate. I think that's not a good choice of words to play desperate. I think they need to play aggressive and play loose, but I don't want to ever be playing in desperation. But, there was good execution. There was some good execution on third down. There was some poor execution on third down. Some of third down was knowing you have fourth down, which is not really the case in every game. That was a very different game to evaluate from a standpoint of the second half, because everything was very different than maybe a start of a game. It's hard to even evaluate because of that, because you had to throw the ball, you had to catch up. But certainly proud of the resiliency they showed to do it. But just as proud of same of that, I'm disappointed at the start of it, But like I said, we got to go get ready for Auburn, who's a really, really good football team.
Yeah, to follow up on that a little bit, last year y'all converted third downs at almost 55%. This year it's at 33%. When you've looked at the tape through these first four games, is there any common threads that you've seen as far as issues? Is it teams defending y'all better? Just what are your thoughts on the offensive third down so far?
A little bit lack of execution, little bit. Well, let me go back. The reason we were number one in the country in third downs last year is because we had very short distances. So we did something right on first and second down. And when we did have third downs, they were third down minimals because we converted a ton of plays on first and second down last year. So when you start backing it up on third down, it doesn't take a PhD to realize you're not going to be as good. So the inevitable question from the media is, why are you down on third down? Because they're longer. Why are they longer? Because you're not doing as well on first and second. And those all lead to execution. What can we do better to avoid third and longs? Because you will not be successful in third and longs. That's way more critical decision making than I can't just analyze third down. You got to analyze the whole thing.
Kirby, the missed tackles were a thing against Kentucky too. How much looking at it is, you're one-on-one against a fast, slippery guy, you're not going to win that a lot. And how much of it is swarm, like not enough guys around the ball?
Yeah, we grade swarm, we chart swarm, which is effort to the ball by other people. Football is played in a way now that there are a lot of one-on-one battles and throws. It's not usually in a phone booth. You miss the tackle, which means A, B, C gap. You're not like in those tight areas. We usually tackle well. We don't knock back tackle well, meaning when contact's made, does he stop and go backwards, or is he falling forward for 3 and 4 yards? That's been more our MO. is falling forward, not knockback tackling, which you got to do at a better rate. But I don't think it's a swarm problem. I certainly think that we tackle at a high rate historically, and tackling as a whole is down across all of college football. But certainly for us defensively, we want to tackle better, and some of that has to do with who you're playing against. And I think a lot of them that we had the other night were pretty good players.
Kirby, curious with the running backs. I guess Nate Frazier started the season strong. I don't think he got in the other day. What's behind that? I guess just and with Roderick Robinson, how far away is he from getting back to help you guys?
Yeah, not sure on Rod. Nate's doing a great job. He's improving week to week. He takes a lot of pride in his performance. Like, he's a hard worker. He's very conscientious about it. Trevor's been playing really good, and Cash opened some things up for us the other night. We didn't get to play Branson near enough, but there's no explanation. He's not doing anything wrong. Really, the opportunity didn't present itself the other night because of the type game. I mean, it's very clear to see the type game it became after 3 series or 4 series. That wasn't going to be a patient, methodical game that might fit Nate more than what it turned into.
Coach, right up here, you had spoke after the game. Carson there had similar comments about the high character revealed in adversity. What have you seen out of the team in these last 36 hours since that game?
Well, I hadn't seen them much. I mean, to be honest with you, Sunday is their dedicated, like their day off, and so I don't get to see a lot of them. I visited with a lot of guys, and they've been in good spirits. They're excited for an opportunity to go play. They know what's at stake with Auburn. It's a huge, historic rivalry. This game has always been that way. And then, for me, when you turn the tape on and you watch their defense and their offense, outside of turnovers, got a really good football team. They've turned the ball over, and they've made that very clear that it's not – I mean, look, they got good players. They got good wideouts, quarterbacks playing better and better, and they've gone back and forth between them. But the focus for us is on them, because I know what they can do. I know what kind of coach Hugh Freeze is. I know what kind of offense they got. I know their defensive coordinator. They're going to have a good team and be ready to play.
Kirby, did anything in general stick out to you from the Alabama film, just that maybe you didn't realize as it was going on, just anything in the last day and change?
Yeah, some things probably did. Some things that when you sit back and watch the tape pop up, but nothing that I would want to share or anything. I mean, we got guys that, we got to do a better job as coaches, got to do a better job as players, got to do a better job as an organization, but nothing that worthy of sharing.
Yeah, how hard is it to get freshmen to play winning football, especially now that you're in this time of year where you're playing an SEC game every week, and this is the first time that they're being asked to sort of do that at this level?
Like who?
Well, KJ Bowman was the only freshman that played for you guys. Nate Frazier, Joseph Johnson, the other freshmen you guys have brought in.
Yeah, those guys didn't really play much, so I don't know if I understand what you're asking. How hard is it to get them ready to play?
Yeah, to where they can help contribute for you guys.
Well, it's been an ongoing process since most of them got here mid-year. So we had 15 practices in the spring. We had summer. We had 26 practices in fall camp. Then we've had all the practices up till now. And I think those guys are continuing to get better. You always worry about a little bit of a lull in there when they hit a road of, well, am I going to play or am I not going to play? That's usually passed by now because we've played however many games, 4 games. So, like, they start to realize, oh, well, I might not be up right now. And that's when you get alarm bells ringing of, we may need them. So how hard is it to get ready to play? It's hard. You got to prepare. You got to get ready. You got to, and really in the cases that you get guys playing, it's usually a phenomenal talent or a need, a tremendous need, meaning you have a deficit at that position. He's got to go play. In the case of KJ, he's a talented player, and we have other talented players, but sometimes you have people in front of them, and it's about growth, development. We talked today, Jordan Davis hadn't really played at this point in time his freshman year. Quay Walker didn't touch the field. Eric Stokes didn't do anything. Lab was on the scout team. They were all pretty good players.
2 questions for you, Kirby. First, can you give us your assessment of your tight end room? And secondly, you're giving up 30 yards more per game at penalties than you did last year. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. They gave a more heightened awareness. It was one of the big things going into the season. They were going to call defensive holding at a higher rate. I don't know what those statistics indicate. I know we've had it called a few more times than we have in the past. That was not a call the other night that was really called very much, but we are higher in penalties, and there's no great explanation. But there's also not a stat that says being higher in penalties equals losses. Usually your aggressive teams that get penalized play aggressive, and sometimes that works in reverse. So I don't have a great explanation for it. Tight ends, it's different because I'm evaluating that room based on that room. I'm not evaluating that room based on last year. It's a completely different room. Certainly have made some plays and left some plays out there, and continue to grow and get better is the hope. I got a lot of confidence in those guys' ability. We got good players in our tight end room.
Kirby, this team loses so rarely. Is there anything you have to do differently psychologically this week so that this loss doesn't linger and affect the next game?
I don't think so. I think we have a very set routine here, and we don't make our routine based on outcomes. So whatever number of wins we've had prior to this one, we did the same thing we're going to do today. And I really believe in that process. I believe in, telling them the truth about the opponent. You tell them the strengths and weaknesses of who you're about to play, and then you coach every week the same.
Kirby, another matchup with a team that's got some really good young receivers. What are your impressions of Malcolm Simmons and Cam Coleman, what they've shown?
Fast, athletic, great size. I mean, they were phenomenal players coming out, and they both have special attributes in terms of ball skills, playmaking ability, speed, dynamic receivers, and those guys you want to catch them while they're young. You want to catch them when they're early in the season, not as they're getting seasoned vets of the SEC. You can see these guys growing up on tape as they make more and more plays.
Yeah, is there an update on Jordan Hall, Kobe White, and London Humphreys?
Yeah, hopeful that all of them are able to play.
Kirby, you talked about communication being an emphasis during the bye week. How would you assess how the offensive line did that on Saturday as well as playing without Tate?
The offensive line did some really good things. I thought we challenged them to communicate better. We had better communication, especially in the front. We were able to run the ball with some success there early while it was still relative. It's hard to evaluate the offensive line in that game because of the way the game went. Now, they did some good things and some things they can do better, but it's a different evaluation because it became such a different kind of game.
Kirby, I saw where Auburn leads the league in yards per completion, and obviously you mentioned Coach Freeze. Is there anything unique he does or something that kind of typifies one of his offenses?
Yeah, it's the RPO game. He's hung his hat on the ability to have RPOs, and I think he's done a good job adjusting to where it's not just that. For a while, he was an RPO guy. When RPOs came out, he was ahead of the game at doing those. He's evolved. He still does those. He still has the quarterback make decisions on plays, whether to throw it or run it, because you can take advantage of defenses doing that. But he's added new wrinkles and twists that you see in the NFL, you see across college football, using motions and eye candy and sorts of things to create an advantage or create a leverage or a mismatch. So he's done a good job evolving while keeping the RPO game. The RPO game is the biggest difference. They are fully committed to being able to do and throw RPOs.
When you were walking off the field against Alabama, you mentioned you needed to work on Georgia's edge containment. What did you do in the second half, and what do you need to do ahead of facing Auburn?
Well, some of that scheme, some of that's player was shared. And so, improvement of, what we're calling based on where they're attacking and how we're playing it technique-wise is a combination of things you can improve on those. But, the common fan likes to talk about contain, but contain is built on the call and a lot of things outside of just keep contain. It's not that simple. There's defenses where you're built to go underneath, defenses where you're built to keep it with the secondary. Sometimes it's a corner, sometimes it's a linebacker, sometimes it's a defensive end. It's a shared responsibility that we all have to get better at.
Coach Peyton Thorne did a good job against you guys last year over there. How do you evaluate his play coming into this game? Obviously, the interceptions have been up, and is that what you expect him to play at quarterback Saturday?
I think the guy's a really good football player and a really good athlete. And whatever noise or criticism they get from people, I don't respond to that because I watch what's on tape. He played really well against us last year. the 3 games I've seen him play this year, he has done a tremendous job of knowing when to go with his feet and when to make throws, decision making. He's a really good quarterback that's a good athlete, which when you have that combination along with the skill players they have, it becomes hard to defend.
Kirby, getting back to the offense in the first half of games this season, not just this game, what can you as a coaching staff do to, get better performance, do you think?
Put together, packages of plays that sequence, making sure the players understand exactly, what the plan is, how to do them, and, each game's been different. The Clemson game was different than the Kentucky game. The Kentucky game was different than the Alabama. The Alabama game, the first play of the game, we have a great play, open up, and then we have a shot play that we think is going to work, and we don't hit it. Then we have an OPI that's rarely called, but it's called, and then you're behind the 8 ball. But it's not that it was unsuccessful. It was that hey, we had a plan to attack. Didn't hit on some of those. You got to come back the next drive and flip the field. I'm always looking at it of, did we create field position advantage if we weren't explosive? We did in the first drive. But then we didn't for a while, and there was a little bit of lack of communication. So there's a lot of things that go into that, and I think it's very clear that we got to, execute and communicate better. But I also think we have the players to do it with. I'm very confident in our offense and our offensive players.
Time for one more question.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can give us an update on this, but Michael, after coming back to that first game, 25 snaps, where is he? How do you feel like he played on Saturday?
Yeah, I was sore is all I know. I talked to him. He was sore, but don't know much more. I'll know a lot more today.